According to the cloud. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 26, 2025 MFRAC, Municipal Financial Recovery Advisory Committee. My name is Vijay Kapoor. I have the honor of serving as the receiver for the City of Chester. We are joined here today by the MFRAC committee, as well as two very, very special guests who are probably well known in the community, or will be well known in the community, certainly after MFRAC, given under the attention that everybody gives this committee, that we will be talking with today. But first, let me introduce the committee. From the City of Chester, we have the very honorable Mayor Stefan Roots. We have the honorable council member Shaquan Davis. Also, who I consider very honorable, but not technically honorable, we have Kelly Diaz from Delaware County, and we have Mr. Andrew Sheaf from the Department of Community and Economic Development. So good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
Also joining us today is my special assistant, Jacob Polikov. Jacob, good to see you. And later on, we will be talking with two special guests. We have Ms. Nona Watson, who is the City of Chester's Director of Community and Economic Development, and Mr. Frankie Lynn, who is the interim assistant BCO, and I think well known to many of folks who may be watching for the City of Chester. So good afternoon to both of you, and we're delighted to have you. So wanted to give a little bit. I have a couple of updates here in terms of kind of what's going on, and then I want to turn it over to the committee if they have any comments or any announcements. And then I also want to provide a presentation on the city's rental registry program. That is why we have Ms. Watson and Mr. Lynn. We want to talk a little bit about some of the good work that's being done in L&I, and we want to focus a little bit on city operations. We've been talking a lot about bankruptcy over the past couple of MFRACs, and really want to highlight what's going on here in the city. Before we do that, I just want to note Cody Deal is not joining us today, unfortunately. He did indicate that there was not any public comment. So committee members, he should be back at the next MFRAC meeting. So we miss him. Looking forward to having him back. So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the really good work. There's a lot happening here in Chester. A lot of good stuff that's happening. This is going to be a very, very, very busy fall. School's back in session yesterday. There's a lot going on operationally in the city. There's a lot going on in the bankruptcy as well. So, for those of you who are watching this MFRAC, want to give you a couple of things to put on your calendar and to give you some heads up on a few things. So in the bankruptcy realm, next Wednesday, September 3rd at 12:30, there will be a bankruptcy hearing at the Bankruptcy Court downtown Philly on 8th and Market. This hearing has to do with the sanctions that the city filed requesting sanctions against the Chester Water Authority. For those of you who might be in the media, this one may be worth checking out. It is at 12:30 at Bankruptcy Court, September 3rd, so next Wednesday. The other thing that's going on in the bankruptcy, just to put on your calendar, another court matter, is on September 29th. And again, this is still up in the air, so I just want to be clear, but we did receive an inquiry from the Third Circuit seeing if attorneys were available on September 29th. That is a Monday. Possibly, and again, I say possibly, for the oral argument on the bondholder litigation. So the way the Third Circuit works is, hopefully within a couple of weeks, they will determine whether or not they want to hear oral argument on the matter. We kind of think they likely will, and then we'll absolutely finalize. But right now, they're checking out September 29th. So I don't have a time for that yet, but I just ask folks to put that on your calendar. The other thing is I want to talk a little bit about kind of what's going on operationally, just to give folks a heads up on a couple of things here. First off, there is a council meeting tomorrow. The interim police commissioner, Katrina Blackwell, will be presenting on crime statistics, basically January through June 2025, comparing to 2024. So suggest folks check that out. That is also live streamed from the city's Facebook, from the City of Chester's website. So folks can check that out. we will be giving an update on what's going on today on the Benjamin Banneker apartment situation. That will be part of my presentation. There's some community members know that there's a lot happening there. A lot of the good work that's being done by L&I will give folks an update on what's going on there. The final item that I just have over here in terms of just putting on folks' calendars. As many of you know, we are in the process of bidding out the refuse services, basically trash pickup, trash and recycling for the city. We have received 2 bids on that, and we expect council action to act on their, not their tomorrow's meeting, but the next meeting after that, which is September 10th. So there'll be more information forthcoming on that. Just a bit of just kind of personal information. I'm not personal, but information kind of on my end. I had the honor and the opportunity to be interviewed by Uncle P from CMP Radio on August 18th. We had a nice 1 hour, hour and a half conversation on all things Chester, which was sort of my first experience, in as becoming receiver with a long interview. Had a great time with Uncle P. You can see it on the receivers Facebook page as well as CMP Radio. It's really exciting to see members of the community who are stepping up, who are providing information about what's going on in the community. You talk about hyper local news. Chester is an incredible example of that. Mayor, I see you nodding your head. You had a blog, and it's amazing how plugged in people are in the community here. We thank you guys for speaking up, for providing information, for holding us accountable, and otherwise for just being engaged. This is a long process. It's an important process. We're at an incredible juncture in Chester's history, and it's great to have people sort of paying attention here on that. So those were my updates here from the receivers deck. I'm happy to either answer any questions, or if anyone from the committee would like to make any comments or make any announcements, more than happy to turn it over to you all now. Anything? All right. Well, let me get into the actual presentation for today. I am going to talk through the rental registry program. If I can get this to load. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. Jacob, you'll tell me if this works. All right, can folks see that?
Yes, we see the PowerPoint.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm delighted here to talk about the City of Chester's rental registry program. This is something that many communities do have across the state, and was implemented here in Chester in 2023. So we are going to do a couple of things today. We're going to talk about the rental registry program, how it works, why it's important for residents. This is under Ms. Watson's direction here in community and economic development, specifically in L&I. Mr. Lynn has been an inspector, has done some of these rental registries. So we're going to also learn later on kind of firsthand kind of what folks are seeing on the ground. Also today, we are going to update residents on the situation at the Benjamin Banneker apartments. And again, we're going to talk we're on a first name basis with Nona and Frankie here on what's going on in the rental registry. So to take a little step back here, I'm obviously the receiver. A lot of my focus is on financial issues, but this is another operational thing that we're talking about. And again, what you typically see, in receivership, or really with severely financially distressed cities, there's a focus almost exclusively, right, when you hear about this, on cutting costs and cutting services. And again, this can be really harsh, and this can be done really fast. Just again, I keep using the example of Prospect Crozier, of the Crozier Hospital, right? When you think about financially distressed situations. We are taking a very different approach here in the city of Chester, starting back with the original receiver, Michael Dowry, and continuing with me. we are trying to figure out a way that both balances the need to address the fiscal issues, right, to get our fiscal house in order, at the same time that we improve city services. We have a very strong philosophy here from the receivers team, and it's the same with the city, with the elected officials, and with the staff, is to improve the lives of Chester residents. This is why you live in cities. This is the point of government. It is to provide protection and to provide services to residents. So that includes addressing quality of life issues, taking a look at this both, day to day as well as long term, and ensuring that whatever we do over here like lasts well after, I or whoever the receiver is goes away. So one of the main areas that we have been really, really laser focused on, and the mayor has as well, is the living conditions of residents. So we are really, really focused on quality of life issues. One of the things that folks may not know about the city of Chester is about 2/3 of the population lives in rental units. So most of the residents of Chester are renters. They live in whether it's a home, a row house or a larger apartment building, they're renters. And unfortunately, a lot of these units are in various states of disrepair, and really too often, tenants don't really have a lot of recourse with landlords to get issues fixed. And historically, to be really honest, the city has lacked the means to inspect these properties, and to really enforce, the codes here, in a lot of these properties. So one of the ways that really most communities do, and this is actually pretty standard for most cities here in Pennsylvania and across the country, is to have something called a rental registry program. And what that does is very basic. It requires the city to inspect all rental units on a regular basis and to require that they be up to code. So it is essentially, third-party inspections, whether it's the city or someone else who the city contracts with, to look at rental units and to make sure they're up to code. And so historically, again, what's very interesting about Chester is Chester did not have a rental registry program prior to 2023. In 2023, under then City Chief of Staff or City Manager Leonard Leitner, the city took a major step by City Council and the mayor took a major step by passing a rental registry program. So, just before we get into kind of what that program is, what it means, one of the things to note about that is like, well, if you didn't have a program prior to 2023, there's a gigantic backlog, right, of inspections and all that has to be done. So, to think about this, like, again, a lot of these communities have had one of these rental registry programs for a very long time. City of Chester hasn't. So not only is the city of Chester sort of getting one off the ground, kind of starting from scratch, but it's also got, effectively a really massive backlog, on these type of inspections. So they're very important to do. We are working through them, and we'll talk more about that. But that's the situation we find ourselves in. So City of Chester, City Council passed an ordinance, again, back in 2023. This is Ordinance 1714, that notes that a significant portion of rental registry properties are not being properly maintained under the code. And due to the transitory nature and inexperience of tenants, right? Folks move in and folks move out. Either tenants' reluctance or fear to complain about housing conditions, right? Because housing's tight. It's even tight here in Chester. And it's hard for people to find places to live. If you have absentee landlords, if you've got folks who are not paying attention to their properties, you need this type of ordinance and this type of program to hold property owners accountable, and to protect renters and to protect residents. So the purpose of what the rental registry was, and this is coming straight out of the ordinance, shall be to protect and promote the public health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, to establish rights and obligations of owners and occupants relating to residential rental units of the city, and to encourage owners and occupants to maintain and improve the quality of rental housing within the community. As a means to these ends, this article provides for a systemic inspection program, registration and licensing of residential rental units, and penalties. So part of our view on, what the codes department does, what L&I does. A lot of people kind of think of it as like how they deal with nuisance issues, right? High weeds, high grass, those sorts of things. But it really is a public safety matter. Having rentals that are not up to code, not up to fire code, not up to basic code, is a public safety matter. It endangers the lives of renters. It endangers the lives of people who live next door, right? Often in adjoining homes. And it also endangers the lives of city staff, particularly firefighters and other folks who may have to come in. So, in a very interesting way, our city inspectors, we sort of view them really as folks who are dealing with public safety issues. And it's really kind of at that line that again, that's important. These aren't just cosmetic issues. These are very, very, kind of important matters. And this is why a program that we have here is really important. And I think all of us can agree, from the mayor on down, is that city residents have the right to live in housing that fully complies with all city codes. Um, just because you're a renter doesn't mean that you're not entitled, to an important quality of life and one where the building that you're in is up to code. And what this ordinance does is it really puts everybody on notice. Absentee landlords, those who are here, that they're on notice of their consequences for illegal, substandard, and dangerous housing. And it's also important, I'll say too, for the landlords who are doing the right thing, right? There's a lot of people in Chester who are doing the right thing, right? They are keeping their units up to code. They are providing for safe conditions for renters. And it's also not fair to them economically for other folks not to do that, right? Who may be able to charge a lower rent if they let their property run into the ground. I think Frankie and Nona can talk a little bit about kind of what they're seeing across the city, right? Probably some things that you wouldn't see in other communities, on the downside, right? I think it's particularly interesting for someone like Frankie. I think probably particularly cool for someone who's from Chester, right? To be able to kind of protect his own city, right? To be out there, to know the community, and to do that. Many of us, aren't, from Chester originally, come to love the community, but to actually be able to be from the community here and to be able to be, protecting folks and that protecting his community at the end of the day is, I think it's a pretty cool thing. And again, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that from him. So let's talk about like what the rental registry program is. Kind of what are the high level steps? And those of you who are landlords, who know landlords, who own properties, this is really important, right? And this isn't option. This is optional. This is mandatory. And the steps over here are you start the landlord or the owner starts with a rental registry application that has to be filled out and sent to the City of Chester City Hall, or you do this in person at City Hall. I actually don't think it's on the second floor anymore. I think it's on the first floor now. We've moved that down. We'll make a correction on that. I think that's from one of the old documents, but down on the first floor, you can fill out an application there. There's a registration fee of $200 for the first 3 residential units, and $50 per additional unit is required. So if you've got kind of 3 units within a building, this is per unit. So you may have 3 units in a row home. It's 200 for the first, and then 50 for each additional. Owners are required to renew their registration annually and to pay the $200 registration fee. And then after registering the property, an inspection will be conducted. The city will perform the initial inspection and one reinspection, which is included in the $200 registration fee. The fee goes up to $75 per unit for second reinspection if you've got to be reinspected, and $150 for the third and all subsequent reinspections here. Once the units pass an inspection, a rental license will be issued at a fee of $15. Subsequent inspections will occur every 3 years. So that's kind of the process of how it works. I want to be clear here, though, this isn't like some kind of profit center for the city. We don't make profits on these fees. The purpose of these fees is actually to pay for is to pay for the program, right? It's to pay for the inspectors. It is to pay for the IT behind all this. We don't make the city doesn't make profits on these, and again, it's costly to do this, right? So, I do understand for landlords, they may be looking at this and being like, oh wow, like I haven't had to pay a fee in the past, and they'd be right, but the truth of the matter is, in most every other city, you have a program like this, and so it's important on our end. It's important to residents to again to make sure that these rental units are up to code. So just a little more detail about this. The ordinance applies to property owners, and if any code violation is found, the code official will issue to the property owner a notice of violation and any other appropriate order under Chapter 48 of the code. And then the property owner is required to remedy the code violation within the time period set forth in the notice of violation. And I also want to be clear here too. The city and our inspectors are not going out looking for reasons to fail property owners. We actually want people to comply. It's we have a we've got a lot of work to do over here. The inspectors have a lot of work to do in these places. It would be ideal if they would pass on the first inspection. And Frank, I'm going to ask Frankie a little bit later to talk a little bit about some of the things that he kind of sees over and over again, right? Because there are things that just like come up, right? So we want property owners to pass. We really, really, really do. This isn't a way of us trying to like just do a bunch of inspections. Believe me, the inspectors have more than enough work to do in the city than having to re-inspect buildings, and that means rescheduling, and that means showing up, and then maybe the property owner isn't there, and there's a whole thing to that. So we really do want property owners, we really do want folks to pass on this. But again, there's difficulties in doing this, particularly when you're getting something just right off the ground. Elle and I, we've dealt with some internal technology issues and just the sheer number of properties that have to be inspected. But I am happy to say, under the city's chief of staff, Thomas Moore, again with Nona, like we are making progress. The inspectors are making progress. The city is making progress. In turning Chester into a city where renters' rights are protected. And that brings us to the Benjamin Banneker Apartments. So a lot of what you heard me talk about right now was just kind of like, here's a process, right? And oftentimes you'll hear us talk about this government work. There's this program. What's the point of it? Like, it just sounds like a lot of bureaucracy to people. I got to pay fees. Why do I have to pay fees for that? But again, the reality of this here is that like this matters to people's lives, and it has a direct impact on the lives of residents. And one of the areas that this has an impact that we are dealing with literally at this moment are the conditions at the Benjamin Banneker Apartments. For those of you not from Chester, this is a 6-story complex. It has about 70 subsidized apartments, and it houses about 180 people right now. It's one of the most well-known and historic residential buildings in the city. I know there's a fair number of folks, who grew up there, who knew people who grew up there. But unfortunately, it's also one of the most run down, and most in need of really the attention from the city and from government agencies and folks at all levels, from the federal down to the local. And so what happened, as folks may have known, was several months ago, through the rental registry program, the city of Chester went to the Benjamin Banneker Apartments and found a lot of, to be very blunt, a lot of really horrible things in a building that was in absolutely horrible shape. And it's not just, I'm not just using that, that word over here and just being hyperbolic, right? Just kind of making things up. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, that is a federal agency, did an inspection because of the Section 8 vouchers that are at HUD. Does these things called Inspire inspections. So what they do is they will go out and they will take a look at the physical condition of the building. earlier this year, um, the Banneker scored an 8 out of 100. Um, this in its Inspire inspection. That is a stunningly low number. The minimum passing score is 60, and this building scored an 8. It didn't even get into the double digits. That is incredibly, incredibly low. I use the phrase by far. By far, this is a situation that this isn't being hyperbolic. I mean, this is a very, very horrible situation for the residents. And to talk about like kind of what's going on, like why did it score an 8, and what did the city's inspectors find when they went in? Was what they found in May was residents in the building were dealing on a daily basis with raw sewage, particularly in the basement, two elevators which were out of service, so people could not get down the stairs, black mold throughout the building, mice and roaches. Some apartments lacked hot water or heat in the winter. Um, Issues with the sprinkler system that doesn't work, fire extinguishers that were well past their date. And what is maddening about this, right, is that the owner had been warned about this and the need to actually fix it, right? Fix the conditions. The property owner, this is not a Chester Housing Authority property. I want to be clear about this. This is a privately owned building. But that property owner did little or nothing to remediate it, and often claimed that problems had been fixed when they actually had not. Again, the stories here are pretty amazing. Throughout the last couple of weeks, just dealing with situations where we're told, the city's told that something has been fixed. We send an inspector out, and they say, no, it really hasn't. No, no, the elevators aren't working. No, the sprinkler system isn't working. This is a situation that again, unfortunately, what we see in Chester here is that you have absentee landlords, and you have LLCs sometimes, which will own properties, right? And then it's very hard to find out who the real owner is, and that takes time as well. But in terms of kind of what's happening now, so let's talk about what's happening now with the Banneker. The city has really, and this is something that I think is really, if you're in the community, you should take a great deal of pride of in the way that city staff, I think, from various different departments, has come together, and government at various different levels have come together. The city has really led an unprecedented multi-agency effort across all levels of government to hold the building owner accountable and to force the necessary improvements to make Banneker habitable. We had a call, just on one call alone, which included the property owner. On that call, Mayor Roots, and members of the city, the city solicitor, the health commissioner, members of the fire department, members of L&I, the city's chief of staff, all these folks here were on that call. I was on the call. There were representatives from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, from the governor's office, from DCED. We had folks on from the White House. This got to that level, and we pushed it to that level. We thank some of the folks, Morgan Boyd in particular, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, for getting even the White House involved, and HUD as well. And so this is levels at local, state, and the federal level all working together, because we all need to work together, honestly, in a situation as bad as it is in Banneker. Um, and each governmental entity was making it clear that they're committed to doing the right thing for the residents. So what did we do over here, right? We had been trying to work with the property owner back and forth. We were told things were being fixed. They weren't being fixed. So we went to court. The city went to court. The mayor authorized the city solicitor, so Ken Schuster, and of the city solicitor, Kyle Miller of Kilkenny Law, went into court on August 14th and filed an emergency legal action, an emergency petition that was seeking a court order requiring the building owner to make these life safety improvements and to force the owner to pay to temporarily relocate residents while the problems with the Banneker are fixed. So we went into court asking for that. We're in the process right now of working with the owner to try and reach an agreed upon settlement, to move forward on this. The court, I think, took it very seriously, and we're grateful for the court to do that. But we're still working through that. And there's going to be more information for Banneker residents will be coming soon. So yesterday, we sent over to the property owner our response to a proposed settlement from him. Again, we're looking very closely and want to protect the rights of not just the rights, but really the health and the safety of residents. And so I ask folks who are following this, who I know care deeply about it, whether you're a Banneker resident, whether you know a Banneker resident, more information will be coming soon. But we are actively pursuing this in court, because we think this is again, we absolutely want to see this fixed, and it has gotten to that level. So yeah, I just want to conclude with a couple of slides here, and then I'll be happy to answer some questions, and if folks have other things they want to add here. We often hear the government gets a bad rap, but again, I will say to you, this is a great example here of Banneker. I mean, it's a horrible situation. Again, I don't want to minimize it here, but this is what we're seeing here, I think, behind the scenes, and I hope folks will realize this, is really government at its best, working together on behalf of residents, with the sole goal of making sure that they're protected and taken care of, and doing that at all levels. This is a very cooperative effort from the local level of our folks going in. I also want to mention Brian Razzie of Bocelli and Associates, who serves as the city's BCO, who's also been working very closely here, going in the building and really detailing what those issues are. But it's a really, I mean, I've never seen something like this in my time here at Chester. It's a very, very difficult situation, but a lot of these groups are coming together. It really shows how throughout the city, how the mayor, city council, city staff, and the receiver can come together to improve the quality of life for city residents. This is just, I think, one example. You're going to be seeing it more in I think, different areas here as we continue to move forward and we continue to move on operations. The city really is making really great strides here in terms of attracting, really good professionals to the city, people who are committed to Chester, people who know their work, who know the business, who know how difficult this is, and slowly improving the quality of service that it offers to residents. Again, I want to put a plug here for folks to watch tomorrow's council meeting, and Interim Commissioner Blackwell's presentation on crime statistics, because again, I think it's really important to see what the data is showing, and it really does show kind of across the board the power of government by working together as a force for good. So that kind of concludes, or that does conclude, my kind of presentation here on the rental registry program and on what's going on with the Banneker. I am happy to pause here. Mayor, I don't know if you have any words or anything you wanted to add, specifically on this situation, or any questions folks have, but I will turn it to the committee.
I have something to add. Thank you. That was a phenomenal presentation. Let's go back a little bit though, where you started with the rental registration program. Overall, I think one of the last quotes you make is increase the quality of services to residents. That's what it's all about for myself, my council, the people here in city government. We've hired very well in the last year and a half with people with that focus. When we sit down at the table and interview them, we don't sugarcoat it. We let them know that the issues that Chester is facing are something you'll never see before. And VJ threw it out there, but it's sort of a running joke around here. When you hear by far, by far the worst, or by far the most challenging, or by far, absolutely listen to it. So there's one correction I want to make, that you said that in the past, before this rental registration program, that landlords haven't had to pay in the past. What actually had happened was, before the rental registration program, there was an annual inspection fee that was on the books. And what had really occurred is the city had dropped the ball. We weren't sending out reminders to all of our landlords and property owners to re-inspect every year. So what we faced when we rolled out the rental registration program at $200 a year were some landlords and building owners who, got that original inspection when they, came on board. Many of them never knew that it was required to do an inspection every year. Those that did it on the honor system. But many people went many years without having to pay anything, and inspections weren't done. So imagine, a property owner that may have had 10 or more properties, and then they're hit with a bill from the city for $200 times however many apartments that they were renting. It seemed very burdensome to them. But this rental registration, as Chief Leitner said when he was crafting it, is nothing unlike what we do with our cars. We register our cars every year. This is what apartment owners have, and it gives us an opportunity to go in and look at and inspect properties that many haven't been inspected in many years. The other thing I wanted to comment on is this rental registration program. If nothing else, it has helped us upright our L&I department. Just about all the resources that are within the L&I department is in some way, shape, or form focused around this rental registration program. So we're rebuilding our license and inspection department, code enforcement, around this program so that we can literally have a department that meets the needs of the city today. Another thing that you had mentioned is that we want people to comply. This is not a punitive thing. And I'm going to add to that is we don't want your money. And I say that in a funny way because we go out there and a neighbor will call in on another neighbor for high grass and weeds, or maybe, some problems with their building, and we go out and inspect, or we try to inspect, or, if we can't get into the property, we put up a violation, which would have a fee associated with it. We would much rather the problem be resolved than for you to write us a check and say, hey, you got me, here's the $100 fee. That's not really what we want. Take that $100 and fix the problem. Today is a perfect example of what happens when inspections just aren't occurring at the rate they should around the city. And this is commercial, not residential, but there was a huge fire today on 9th and Booth. It was a grocery store. I got feedback from the fire commissioner that there were some serious violations within that property that contributed to the incident and contributed to suppressing the extent of the damage that occurred as a result of the incident. While they were at that strip mall, they checked every business on that strip. Right now, every business is shut down. There's one owner that owns the entire strip mall. Each of the storefronts rent from them. But the violations were so egregious that the entire strip mall has been shut down. I've ordered that the businesses across the street and down the block in this whole block area get inspected as well. So this is an opportunity that we can bring our resources to look at an area just because there was a bad problem, in the area. So that's what we want to do. We want to be very proactive here. To get to the Banneker situation, there's nothing I can add to what you've described, other than the fact that, as you kept saying, this is government as a force for good, government at its best. One of the things that we're trying to change in Chester is the narrative that we can do it all on our own here in the city of Chester. The only way that we've made the inroads that we've made down at the Banneker House is because of the relationship we have at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level, and to have the White House and people from HUD from the federal level, not just our local regional folks, that made the whole difference. So that's what we're doing here in Chester. If you see any of us who, maybe taking trips to Harrisburg or Washington, D.C., that's the reason why we do it, is to establish these relationships so that in times of emergency and times of need, we can tap into these people, be very familiar with them, and get the best of the best to help us solve our problems. So many of these issues and problems have been longstanding for years. and it's very difficult to fix it right in-house. We need the help that we can get. So, Mr. Receiver, thank you for kind of coordinating this whole effort and being the leader here. But it's so great to see that, we're putting the pieces in place to handle the big problems. One of the things that you guys keep pointing the finger to me at early on is, wow, the Banneker. I mean, there's hundreds of properties in this town that need addressing. Why'd you pick one of the biggest and and most uh, egregious properties to start with? And I think we've all learned through this that there is a process for getting this done right. And if you're not starting at the biggest, probably the worst player, hopefully in the city, we know what to do when we're knocking on the next door and the following doors. They're not the only property that's privately owned and federally subsidized that we will be looking at. But to do one at a time, to learn, how to do it, to know the partners that we have both in-house and externally is super important to get this things done. Too many people are living in squalor. Too many people are paying too much money. Too many landlords don't pay attention. Too many of them don't live in the city. We're a city, like you said earlier, where darn near 75% of us are renters. City government has not moved and shaped itself to support that type of rental population. But we're turning the tables quickly, with the staff that we have, with the leadership that we have, and I'm really proud that we're doing the work that we do. Is the Banneker situation over yet? It absolutely isn't. We still have a ways to go, but understand that the emphasis here in this town is that everybody is living in a safe, secure, sanitary place. And, a lot of the effort that's going on is geared to that. So, bear with us, whether it's getting abandoned cars off the street or getting people out of situations where they're on a sixth floor of a building and can't get to dialysis because the elevators don't work. We're addressing all of that. It's not easy. It's taking a lot of time, but we've got a great team that's addressing these issues. For you who are listening, who are residents, who see these problems, don't hesitate to bring them to our attention. We want to address each and every one of them. And unless you tell us what's out there, we don't know. We don't have a magic wand. We don't have a microscope in every building and every facility, but we want to address each and every issue that may come up and be confident that, the city has more capacity now to address these issues than we ever have had in the past, and it's only going to get better. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Any other comments or questions before we talk to Nona and Frankie? All right, great. Well, so Nona and Frankie, I just we just wanted to have some conversations. We wanted to bring you guys on. People are sick of hearing my voice over here, and actually want to see and meet some of the. Oh, Mayor, you're fine. And see some of the folks who are doing this work, like just on the ground. So no, I'm going to ask you a couple. I just want folks to sort of get to know you guys, right? And just had a couple of questions and. So now I'm gonna start with you, just very simple question. So you're not originally from Chester, right?
Right.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Camden, New Jersey, born and raised in Camden.
All right. And how did you get into like this line of work?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of information about me, who I am. I am the youngest of 12 children, born and raised in Camden. And so I've seen a lot in Camden. And I started paying attention to how things would change from year to year, how things are even right now. But I want to go back just even a little further. Every time I talk, I speak about my mother, who is 104 years old. And I had the opportunity to sit at her feet and hear what life was like. She was also raised by a grandmother who was a slave. And she shared with me what life was like. So for her to be two generations away from slavery herself, because she was born in 1921, I paid attention to how things evolved. I paid attention to the stories that she told me in reference to how there was no health care, how they had to live, what was community like, and those things I just really became interested in because community and economic development always has been. So that was my first interest in wanting to learn more about how things change, and following that process out. So that's how I actually became interested in community and economic development.
Got it. And so tell people, so tell folks like so what do you do? What does a community and economic development director do?
So we are responsible for actually helping to shape and grow the community. We are responsible for guiding what happens in our municipalities. So oftentimes that director is responsible for those departments that get the job done out there on the street. So we're talking planning and zoning, permitting and inspections. We're talking health. We're talking economic development. We're talking redevelopment and
I
place
think there you go.
out there. Community economic development is responsible for, alongside, of course, our internal and external partners. But almost everything that needs to take place, like we are boots on the ground out in the community. So here we go.
So, and what got you to Chester, right? Like, why did you come here?
Oh, why did I come to Chester? I used to come to Chester years ago. I just had a flashback of the by far BJ. And I must say that initially, I was like, no, I've been to Chester. I used to, go to Chester. I do not want to go to Chester. And but I had an opportunity to come here and meet such great people. I didn't know anyone in Chester. I have no family in Chester. And as I began to hear, even at my interview, and Mayor Roots was telling me some of the things that were going on here, I thought to myself, you know what? I can make a difference in Chester. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been some places, I've seen some things, and I could offer some things that will prevent Chester from starting at ground zero. You know what I'm saying? Not just with me, but with the entire team.
So
So
so you've been here for about 3 months, right? We're on
I've been here
three-ish.
three months, going on about 2 years.
That's
About
right. That's right. Know the
yeah,
feeling. I think we all
yeah,
do. What have
right.
you so what have you learned? What surprised you? Like talk to the community over here, right? Like what have you what do you see here? What have you learned?
I think that you hit the nail on the head, VJ and Mayor, when you talked about everyone coming together. And I've learned that it's a new day in Chester. You know what I'm saying? It's like even the things that I was apprehensive about, I'm like, okay, we can get in here and turn some things around because there are great people here. And that support system is here that lets me know, okay, we can do this. A lot of places you go, you don't get that support, but here we actually have that support.
Got it. And so what do you, in terms of kind of where you are right now, Nona, like what are your sort of top priorities here where you're sitting right now? Now you've got your arms around it a little bit, right? You got a
Yeah,
flavor. And I should say too, Nona's first day was the Banneker building. Like, so she walks in here and literally the first day, right? Frankie's laughing, right? Literally she walks right into this.
yes,
Didn't even have time to like find her office. And it's like, hey,
right.
guess what? This place got an 8 on its Inspire. And you had to deal with it. So kind of, I didn't mean to kind of go off on that story, but no, like,
That's
what are your priorities over here? What are you looking at doing?
So, yeah, as you stated, I've been here 3 months now, and actually, we've made great progress. And I still have to continue doing the things that I am doing right now and making sure that the staff are in place, making sure that everybody knows and understand what our responsibilities are. What is it that we are trying to accomplish here? And looking at things and saying, hey, what did not work? before? How can we make things better? And I'm constantly asking that question and constantly receiving input from the team because, as you said, even about Frankie, they've been here. You know what I mean? So they can share things with me that I just don't know. So I look for that feedback. So really focusing in on the staff and focusing in on uh, making sure we have the software because there are some changes that we need to do in reference to our processes here and everything. So right now the focus is L&I. We also have the Health Bureau and we have planning and zoning. They're doing really well in those areas, but there was a lot to take care of here. I am hoping that once we get settled in, that I am able to even branch out even further. So my future priorities, I will say, is to address like vacant and abandoned properties, blight, absentee landlords, encourage redevelopment here in the city, and of course, business development. I want to get out there and meet with the businesses. And also, I've had the opportunity to speak with CETA, Lisa Gaffney, and support the work that they are doing now. But I hope to be more involved in that as we move forward.
Great. Well, thank you, Nona. And Nona just noted, one other person who I think, requires probably a bit of special attention to, and that's in the health department. That's Dr. Kristen Motley, who has been an incredible advocate on
Yeah,
behalf
she
of
has.
the residents of Banneker. Folks don't really realize, the mayor talked about this in a prior meeting. There's a lot of work that the city does that it's actually not their job, technically speaking. Right.
Right,
So if you think about the Banneker, actually the role of the city generally is whether or not to condemn a building or not. That's really what tends to sort of be like what a city's role is. It's not necessarily to think about like where would folks go or figure out what the needs of the residents are. Folks may be surprised about that, but in Chester, thanks to folks like Dr. Motley, it's the city picks that up.
right,
Same thing with with dealing with abandoned homes, abandoned vehicles, illegal dumping, all those sorts of things. Like the city does that and has to deal with it. But many of the communities don't, and that's not typically something we see in the cities. So I wanted to just really highlight, Dr. Motley's role in all this, and
And may I say, VJ,
please.
to that point, she has been amazing. And she is the one who has been receiving a lot of the phone calls. So she's been hearing the stories as to what's going on with the residents there and how they feel trapped and how they, what they need. And they need to get to their doctor's appointments and all of that. And she made that very clear to us. She reports back very, very well. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the work that she's done as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Well, Frankie, if you could get yourself on mute, I'm curious about talking to you. Uh, you know, uh, so I just want to let folks know. So Frankie's been an inspector for a while. He'll tell us how long. He has recently been, again, he's serving in an interim capacity right now as an interim assistant building code official, which is a big deal. Building code official is a very important role in the city. Frankie, you got your license how long ago?
About 3 months, three,
About
4 months
3 months
ago. So I'm
ago.
just going to Miss Nona got hired.
All right, that's a big deal. And I want the community to realize that's a really big deal here.
Thank you.
So congratulations to you. Congratulations on your current interim new role. So I want to go back to, so what's it like? Like you grew up in Chester. Like what's it like to work? What's it like to work in this role in the city of Chester?
And it's really, really a blessing. Nothing but God. Um, just coming up, seeing everything that's inside of the city of Chester, being in the buildings, being outside of the buildings, not knowing what to look for, and then all of a sudden knowing what to looking for. People inboxing me all the time. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you know that? So when I say it's really, really a great place to work, I wouldn't want to work nowhere else. I feel like I'm just serving my community and the city of Chester.
That's all. And so tell folks kind of like what does an inspector do? Like tell us like sort of about your day. Like when you go out, like what are you doing? Are you going to certain areas in the city? Like how are you doing and what are you doing?
So it's two different leads. So I'm at, of course, like you said, I'm serving as an intern. So I'm on a different lead. But as an average inspector, I'll tell you about my day this morning.
Yeah.
This morning I had court. So from court, from being dismissed from court as Mayor Roos just said, it was a fire. So I got called straight from court, straight to Ninth and Booth. And as Mayor Roos said, um, the violations are through the roof. And as he mentioned, every building got shut down. And as he said, every building around is going to get inspected and everything like that. And I had to sign off on several condemn paperwork on unsafe structure, dangerous structure. So, and then from there I came here, but as a, if I didn't have the meeting, I would be out patrolling the area and seeing about people working without permits or seeing if people do got permits, looking for trash, looking for dumping sites. It's a whole lot that I think people don't really see what inspectors do. Cause they may see certain inspectors sitting in the car, they could be jotting down notes or just left for inspection. It's a lot that comes with it.
So in terms of like a rental inspection, let's talk about
Mhm.
that for a little bit, right? Because I know you did quite a few of those. Like, so what is like what are like the most common violations you see when you do like a rental inspection?
Inside or outside the home.
Well, let's start inside and then let's go outside. Let's start
Okay.
inside.
So inside, a lot of homes don't have smoke detectors. They don't have fire extinguishers. Holes in the walls. As y'all mentioned earlier, mice and roaches, it's infested. Um, chip painting throughout the house, right? And so then I go back and as y'all said, Dr. Miley, we got into a class where we're doing lead. I'm like, maybe we gotta get this tested for lead now. So then going from outside, it can be the driveway all cracked up, the sidewalk, tripping hazards. The bushes are more than 6 feet tall. The weeds are more than 6 inches tall. There's trash in the debris. They putting our trash out earlier. So it's a numerous of things that goes on. It could be downspouts on the outside. The gutters are broke. They are clogged. Broken windows. There's so many things that's falling into one unit.
Right. And that impacts the people who live there, but also the people who like live next door, right? And all kinds of things, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So like,
That's
so
where
what?
violations come in at.
Yeah. Well, so talk about the violation. So what like what advice do you have to property owners to avoid violations? Like if they were watching here and like you're like, look, man, like I don't want to cite you guys on this. Like here's what you need to do. Like what do you say to them?
I would say get your house registered with the city of Chester. It saves us time, it saves them time. So a lot of people don't get their house registered and they get their house fixed up, right? They get their house fixed up and the house look brand new. And when we come out as inspectors, we can make you rip holes in the wall to make sure the house was done correctly. We need to make sure that the inspections are right, the wires are ran right, is the framing right? So people, it's in a source of people think they can get away with things because what they used to get away with. But right now, we'll say get it registered so we can come out and help, so we can come out and inspect and make sure it's done properly. Because if it's not done properly, when we come out and do the rental registration, it doesn't matter how long ago the property got fixed or how long ago it got cleaned. If it's new and we look in our system that it wasn't inspected, we can make you rip everything up to make sure it was done correctly.
Right. And the hope is not to do that, right? The hope is for them to do it right
Yes.
the first time, right? Like
Yes.
that's the goal
Yeah.
here, right? I think as the
Mhm.
mayor said as well, like you see in situations of what happens when it doesn't go right, right?
Right.
Legitimate public safety issue. And again, I don't know if people again have who may be from different communities watching this just see it, like it is different here in Chester. Like it really
It
is.
is.
And no, I mean Nona can tell like you've been in different places, Nona.
Mhm.
Like the level it is different here. And so we do ask for some grace from some of the community members, that we are trying to get this done. Folks here are trying to do the right thing, but it's a lot. So
It
um
is.
so Frankie, final question. I have to ask this, and this is not rental registry. You know where this is going. So you're not just an interim assistant building code official, right? You got another alter ego, right? Outside of Boxer, right?
Yeah, I'm a boxer.
You're a boxer, right? So tell. I mean, again, I want folks to get to know folks over here, right? Like
Right.
everyone kind of knows the work over here. You know, Nona talked a little bit about her background. I learned a lot of stuff from Nona. I didn't know all this. Like, tell folks about your boxing career.
Oh
So,
man.
I know you're humble about it, but I'm asking now.
Yeah, I'm a very humble guy. I'm a Christian man as well. God favors the humble. So that's what I know and that's what I stand on. But I'm a two-time state champion. I'm a two-time district champion. I'm a two-time regional champion when I was fighting amateur. My amateur career, I was 22-2 amateur, and then I transferred over and I went professional. Currently now I'm 6-0. God willing, I'll be fighting in November. Mayor Roos came out and see me a couple times. It's always a blessing. And like I said, I'm here serving the community. And then in the same line, I'm fighting for the community in the ring as well. So it's a good feeling when people see me. Oh hey champ, and then you get hey inspector, or who you shutting down or who you knocking out. So it's like it's a good thing to be from the city of Chester, serving the city of Chester, and fighting for the city of Chester inside the ring. So it's really a blessing. I'm thankful to be here, and I'm thankful for you guys. Just like Mayor Ruth said, um, they are they're picking the right people for the right team to run the departments, and I'm thankful to be under Miss Nona, Dr. Marla, like they said, and Brian coming in as well. Everybody's coming together, and we're building structure, and we're holding people accountable for what they're doing. So, in the same thing in the ring, I'm holding people accountable.
Mhm.
So it's a good thing, good situation.
Hey,
Awesome.
Frankie, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
The fighting part is really synonymous with one of my themes, and that is join the fight for Chester.
Mm,
Everybody wants to be on board. Come on in the ring because we're
absolutely.
battling and we're not scared. But one of the things that I face constantly, particularly at council meetings, are community members coming up and being very frustrated that everything isn't perfect out in these streets. They still see trash, they still see dumping, they still see buildings falling down, they still see bad neighbors. And I always give props to the guys and gals that are out there addressing these issues, but there's really no way to articulate to people who constantly and continually see that we're overmatched,
Mm,
in this area. And what I often want them to do is to talk to people like you, as opposed to people like me, the guys who are out there every day just putting in the work. So here's your opportunity to speak to those people. What would you say if and say it in a nice way, not throw a left hook at them, but what would you say to those people who constantly feel as though we're still failing at the work that we know that we're chipping away at and getting to? What would your response be?
my response will be it's real simple, like you said, not harshly. But we need help, right? So in the same sense of it all, um, I just had a conversation with somebody like this, and it was like, I didn't tell or I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be a snitch. And I said to them, I said, well, this is your community. You're allowing people to dump trash. You seen it. You didn't say anything. And I said, most importantly, I said, you're not in the streets. You are a resident. They not the codes that you follow at all. Why wouldn't you tell? I said, listen, I don't allow nobody to come in my neighborhood and dump trash, throw stuff out the window. Hey, you got to pick that up. I said respectfully, nothing, nothing to start something altercation or anything like that. But as especially men, we have to speak up now. We have to speak out. Hey, that's wrong. Don't do that. Kids, pick this up. Like I walk through my neighborhood. I live on 8th and Pusey. I walk through my neighborhood with the neighborhood kids, the little kids. We go pick up trash. I give them pizza, a little water, juice, or whatever. The kids that be selling water on a gas station. Hey, Mr. Frankie, can you get us a case of water or two? I do that. I'm doing my role inside the community itself. And I need the community to do their role as well. Simple.
Well, great. Well, we appreciate it. Nona, Frankie, thank you both. Any other questions from the committee? All right. Well, this was fantastic. Thank you both for joining us. We had a
Thank you for
had a
having
great time over here. Those of you in the Banneker, again, please continue to pay attention. Please continue to monitor. You know, with that, we've got another MFRAC. I don't know the date. We'll post it. But it was a great time. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for a wonderful MFRAC, and we'll see you again next time. Bye, everybody.
All right.